I'm going to start with how we use Copilot as a natural language prompt to help us with our formulas, things that we're not entirely sure how to do. I use Copilot a lot when I'm working on trial balances, working on balance sheets by quarter, breaking things down and manipulating the data. Sometimes I don't know exactly the formula I want to use because Copilot or Excel, as you know, has a ton of different formulas. So one thing that I have been using Copilot for is create a formula that does this thing that I need. And I explain in my natural language, it matches the account name from this column to the other tab and pulls over the data. I use this a lot every single month. Actually, I use the same workflows. So using Copilot helps me get it done a lot faster. And I just wait for Copilot to work on my answer.
So while it's waiting, Jill, can you just repeat sort of what you're trying to do there?
So for this one, I pull in data from the trial balance that's updated based on the quarter that I'm working on. I pull it over to this balance sheet, and then I use that to input into some of our different systems that we do reporting, as part of our peer groups and other things. And this helps me organize that data and then upload it quickly. So Copilot has come up with a formula. The thing that I like about it is it will always tell me what the formula does and then give me alternatives if I don't want to use the first one that it gives me. I usually use the first one because it's almost always just what I need, but I have noticed Copilot has a habit of breaking up lines when it should be all on the same line. So have to do a little manipulation to get it.
You're just formatting.
I'm just formatting the code that it outputted.
So Reed, you mentioned in an earlier Copilot webinar that it was using Python, and this went so fast. Was it using Python for this?
Not here. This just looks like an Excel formula. Yeah. Python would be used. If it's using Python, it's going to create a new sheet and then it's going to start writing that Python code. So this is pretty cool.
So it's pulled over the data that I need. And if I look here, this is the information that it's pulling and it's doing a match. And it's using, some trimmed up words to make it a little bit simpler, but I use this probably at least once a week doing different things.
So Jill, how did you used to do it before Copilot?
I would just manually go equals, click, enter, and then copy.
For every row in that spreadsheet?
Yeah. It was really time consuming. So the more things that I can do automatically, this obviously simplifies it. And if I don't know the formula, this is the best way to come up with it because I don't know X match and X lookup as well as I know some of the other standard formulas.
And now let's talk about agent mode. So I'm going to click on Copilot again in my toolbar. And in the little tools section of where I type in my prompt, I'm going to select agent mode. What agent mode lets you do is tell Copilot to make changes to your workbook. So I can click on this and it takes a second to open up. But now I could say highlight every number greater than 10,000. And what it's going to do is Copilot's not just going to read the data from a spreadsheet, it's actually going to make changes to my spreadsheet based on my prompt. And this should hopefully come up pretty quick. There we go.
But that is something to note that sometimes it doesn't come up quick because it's actually thinking through it.
It's going through it. So it's telling me that I've got a lot of rows in here. But there you go. It highlighted the cells that are greater than $10,000. So there's a variety of ways to do this. If you're an Excel guru, you can go into, data, conditional formatting. You can do stuff like that. But you gave an example yesterday when we were talking about you download a spreadsheet, all the numbers are really negative numbers. You want to convert them to positive numbers or something like that. And that's that's what you could do with agent mode, making simple edits to your spreadsheet. But I'll show you an example of something really powerful. So I can go in and I could say, I want a dashboard. I want you to look at all of that data and create a dashboard. I'm going to copy a prompt in here, right here. I'm going to say, create a simple dashboard for the data represented here showing trends and key points. Same thing I would do if I was using some advanced financial analysis tool. And Copilot's going to sit here, and this is going to take a while. When I ran this earlier, prepping for this, it sat for about 5 minutes. So I've got the output that I can show you. So here's a financial performance dashboard, and Copilot made this. It looked at the data and it organized annual sales by business unit per year, expenses per year, profitability analysis. It gave me total revenue, total profit, and other data points. Gave me some graphs as well. All of this from a simple one little sentence prompt. And see, it's working on it now. It would take too long if we just sat here and wait for it. But I wanted to show what the output was. And this is pretty amazing.
Can you show the original spreadsheet and then show the output just so folks can see it again?
So here's a spreadsheet.
And that's just some sample spreadsheet. But
yeah, found it online.
It looks similar to some of the advanced spreadsheets that Jill makes.
Mm-hmm. So what it's doing here is it's working through this prompt. It's outputting, it's creating this new dashboard live. You can see it's step 3. If I scroll down, you can see kind of how it is reasoning over the request. Now it's generating some graphs. Expense by distribution. Now, if I gave it a more clear prompt with specifics, I could get a really nice output, exactly what I want, rather than just kind of whatever it's going to come up with. Because here it put, in this example, it put the KPIs at the top here. And in the one I did the other day, it put KPIs down here at the bottom. So
interesting. Yeah.
Same prompt, different output. The numbers are the same. That's good. At least it's not making up the numbers, but it's generating a different type of, now I've got a margin trend over time, just what it came up with. So agent mode in Excel, you could use a simple use case where you want to do some highlighting or maybe some simple reformatting, type that into your Copilot prompt, or something more advanced like creating a dashboard.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a simple prompt, and then you're going to get a really nice looking output in a matter of a couple minutes.
So there's some new stuff in the researcher agent, which we've talked about before, but let's do some updates, and anything that you want to share about it that's fundamental, that's okay too, because we have some new folks watching this.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I want to share before we get into the researcher agent. You used to just start typing and it would let you interact. Now in the upper right corner, here I can select what type of response do I want. Do I want Copilot to figure it out? Do I want a quick response, or do I want a slower response where it will reason over my prompt longer? I've found that the think deeper gives me much better results, because a lot of the things that I'm doing with Copilot, I'm asking for detailed information, I'm asking for research. I don't want the fastest answer. I want the right answer, which often takes longer to get. So when we talk about the researcher agent takes that really to the next level. It is an agent that Microsoft has built that we've talked about before. It's available for free, but the researcher agent will not only reason over your prompt and perform multiple searches But it will gather all of the results and produce kind of a nice output that is formatted more of in a report format and less of just a text response format that we're familiar with. There's also this computer use component. You see it says Frontier there. That's part of their Frontier program. It's their early release program that the researcher agent can actually spin up a virtual machine and spin up a virtual browser and go crawl websites and interact with websites in a more thorough way than just doing a web search, where it's using a tool to just retrieve content from a web page. So what I wanted to show today was a couple of use cases. The first use case, we'll start with the external one, using the researcher agent to search for information out on the internet and then give me a report. If I'm trying to research things like, and we'll compare ChatGPT and Copilot today, but if I'm doing research, I'm going to go to a bunch of different websites. I'm going to look here, I'm going to look there. I might copy and paste some notes. I might get to a dozen different sites over the course of a half hour. Well, researcher agent is going to crawl a dozen websites in minutes. So it's going to crawl dozens of websites over the course of 5 or 10 minutes while it's working through this. And it's going to give me a much more comprehensive response than I would have been able to get myself in the same amount of time. So what I can do here is I've got a saved prompt. I'm going to copy and paste it in. Help me compare the difference between ChatGPT and Copilot as I think about investing for my small business. Now, when I'm in Researcher, I've got this sources option where I can tell Researcher specifically where I want it to look or not look. And in this case, I don't want it looking at my files. I don't want it looking at my emails or meetings or chats. I just want it to look at the web. I want to go out to the internet and find data about this topic for me. Notice when I turned all those off, that's the same as turning off work, but you can turn them off selectively if you want. So now when I hit search, the first thing that researcher is going to do is probably ask me some follow-up questions because I didn't give it a lot of information. We talk about the more data that you put into your prompt, the better response you get from the AI tool. So we'll see what it does here in just a second. And then through the power of technology, we've got a researcher that we ran before, so I'll show that. But here it came back. It said, so what are you trying to do? What are you interested in? Do you want a comparison? Are you considering other tools? So I can just say, go ahead, and it's going to do the best it can. I didn't answer any of its questions, but it's going to do the best it can. And I can see the progress that it makes while it's doing this here. So we'll let this start. Any thoughts on any of this while it starts up, Gar?
Well, I just want to be clear that you said the researcher agent is free. It's free with the license.
Yes, got to have that license.
So just want to clarify that. It's because we've talked on these monthly webinars before about that Copilot Chat is free for everyone in Microsoft 365. But to get the researcher agent, you have to have the pardon me, the full license, which now is a little bit cheaper.
Yep.
And that's the only comment I had for right now. Till you switch the screen.
So we'll switch. So what you can see though is it's going through and it's kind of reasoning over that prompt. It's doing some searching. It's finding pricing. It's finding different information. So if I go down here into my history of my previous chats, I can pull up the previous example where I used the Copilot researcher agent to do this. So same prompt. And you can see it gave me a more thorough output. So it's comparing the two, comparing pricing of the two, explaining, purpose and value of Copilot, pricing of Copilot. It's giving me a table to compare ChatGPT business version versus Copilot, and then some key considerations. And way at the bottom here, it gives me a bottom line. Now, this is kind of a weak response. It says, well, both are great. Well, and really
Are
they
you
are.
looking at the one you just ran or the one you pre-ran so we wouldn't have?
Yeah, this is the one I pre-ran
Got it.
with
Got
the
it. Got it.
same prompt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the answer that it gave me is bottom line, they're both great. Buy them both. I would challenge that. So so
Is that
that's the
is that
external.
what they mean by hallucinating?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So the next use case for the researcher agent is reasoning and doing some advanced work over your own meetings. Okay. So, one of the things that I've found really useful is not only to have a meeting summary, which I can get from here, I'll just pop one up here. Here's a meeting with myself and Jessica, one of our team members. You can see I'm excited about something. I got my arm up there, but the this does a great job of giving me a summary of what happened in the meeting. But the researcher agent can also coach me on how I performed in the meeting. So that's the next thing. So what I can do is I
So
can put in,
just to bring people up to speed, we talked about this on one of our first webinars, but was without the research agent where we did a similar prompt. That was like look back through my meeting or my emails and tell me how I can improve myself. So this is similar, but using the researcher agent, which didn't exist at that time.
yeah, exactly. So I have a prompt. It's a little bit hard to see, but here you're an executive coach. Use the transcript. Don't summarize the meeting or restate what we talked about. Evaluate how I communicated. Give me some coaching. Flag examples. Um, Respond with some structure and clear headings so that I can act on it. So what I can do here is I can take this and I can use my sources now and turn off web, right? Because I don't want it to start crawling the web based on anything that it found. And I can also flag and attach work content. And using these selectors, I can find meetings that I have here. And if I scroll down, you can see here we've got all sorts of different meetings like record tips and tricks and this service automation group. I can go back to one of my previous meetings from that and run this prompt on one of those meetings. And through the magic of technology, I've got that here. So I'll open that in my next screen and I'll show you what the result was because it's pretty neat. So so I said, here you're an experienced coach and so on. Or actually, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted to find another one here.
So while you're doing that, you're inside the app now. Just a
Yeah.
quick quiz while you're looking for that. What's the key? What's the key combination to get that to come up?
To get what up?
Copilot, the app.
Windows C. I don't know. You tell
Yes,
me.
yes, good one, good one.
So I found it. So here's my prompt. I had renamed it. So I took my link to my recording of that meeting, and I've got my prompt that I just showed you. And if I scroll down,
So just for clarity, Reed, you just copied the link to the meeting, and
yep,
then right after that, you just hit space and then the rest of your prompt.
yep, I put my prompt in, give me 5 to 7 practical guidelines I can use, so on and so forth. And now it's given me this nice report where it's said, hey, here's how you're speaking. Here are some suggestions to improve your wording and tone and some alternatives. So without, reading through all of this, if I scroll down, it says you've got frequent hedging and filler words, over explaining. Gosh, you wouldn't think I over explain things, really. Missing emotional cues, guidelines for future meetings. So this is when it went through the transcript of this 30-minute meeting or so that we had. I guess it was a 1 hour meeting. It took it about 15, 20 minutes to go through that transcript and come up with these suggestions. So you can use the researcher agent. The whole point of this is you can use the researcher agent not only for doing external research, but also for analyzing your internal content. And if you point the agent at the right content, and give it the right prompt,
the results are pretty impressive. So that's what I wanted to show.